Charting Toward Intimacy covers mature topics. Listener discretion is advised. Quick note before we start. If you're a Catholic wife who wants to actually want and enjoy sex again, I'm hosting a free live workshop this week on Wednesday where I'll teach on this more deeply. You can register at the link in the show notes. The other day, I got an email from a listener who had been listening to Charting Toward Intimacy for a couple of years. I can't believe I can even say that because I've been doing this podcast for over 5 years. And she said, Ellen, I love your podcast. I love all the content. I have learned so much, but I just feel like not that much has changed in my marriage and my sex life. Why? I would venture to guess that there are many of you who have been in a similar situation as this listener who reached out to me. And that's what I want to talk about today in this episode and hopefully give you a way out of this kind of spot that you feel like you're in. Like, oh, I have a lot of awesome knowledge, but how come things aren't changed yet? How come things aren't fixed yet? Welcome to Charting Toward Intimacy, the podcast for Catholic women that helps you improve your sex life, strengthen your marriage, and embrace God's design for love. My name is Ellen Holloway, and let's get started. Okay, so here's the thing. You've listened to some number of Charting Toward Intimacy episodes, and you've had thoughts. You've been like, oh my gosh, yes, that's me. Or you've had like these revelations like, wow, that's amazing. This is going to change everything. But not everything changed. Why is that? And I want something to be super clear to you before we keep going. This is not because you're doing anything wrong. It's not because you're not trying hard enough. The reason is because knowledge and insight alone doesn't create change. Knowing what you need to do doesn't automatically change your sex life. And so I want to talk about what actually does. So when we start trying to change something, and obviously I'm talking about your sex life, but hey, it's the beginning of the year. Maybe you're trying to change some other things. Growth often initially creates a lot of frustration. And this is for a lot of reasons. One is that awareness of a problem and even awareness of like what you need to do without support feels very discouraging. And this particularly happens with things like trying to improve your libido, bring your desire for sex back, and particularly with learning how to orgasm. If anything, feeling stuck after understanding like what you need to change or what you need to do is actually more a sign that you're on the right track because you know what to do, but now we just need the support. And why is it that we can't just like learn this skill and then see immediate change, right? If we're looking at some other skill in our life, like let's say that you want to learn how to cook, right? You can take a class, you can get instruction and begin doing it and learn how to cook. There are certain kinds of skills that simply require knowledge and then simple implementation of that knowledge. Desire and pleasure are not cognitive skills, right? Learning how to cook is a cognitive skill. We need to receive instruction and then we need to execute that instruction. Learning how to knit is a cognitive skill. We can, watch a video on it and just follow that same pattern, right? And do the exact stitches and we can learn how to knit. Desire and pleasure live in the nervous system. They live in the body and they require emotional safety. Learning how to knit does not require emotional safety. I'll give you another example here is think of like a habit, and we're at the beginning of the year, right? Maybe there's a habit that you're trying to gain or a habit that you're trying to get rid of. Like maybe you're trying to drink more water. You truly can think your way in to drinking more water. That is a purely cognitive habit that you're trying to gain. When it comes to arousal, relaxation, orgasm, simply understanding is not enough to actually change what is going on in your body. Because when it comes to arousal and orgasm, your body's reaction to these things changes because it experiences something repeatedly in safety, right? In order to drink more glasses of water, we don't need to feel safe to drink more water. We simply need to remember to drink more water. But in order to learn how to orgasm, we need to not only have the cognitive knowledge, but we need to process that knowledge through our body and create safety. So here's why insight alone doesn't just stick when it comes to these kinds of topics. First reason is that your nervous system needs repetition. One positive experience, one light bulb moment while listening to the podcast, one instance of, reading a book and hearing something doesn't retrain patterns. Your brain is very pattern-based. It loves patterns. So when it comes to patterns that are based in our nervous system, like the vulnerable act of sex, consistency matters far more than intensity. The second reason is that safety can't grow very well in individualized moments. Safety grows very well in containers. Trying alone, when it comes to sex and intimacy and things that need safety, often brings a lot of pressure, and it's us. We give ourselves that pressure. Pressure shuts down desire and pleasure. Safety requires permission, it requires time, and it requires non-judgment. And this is where a container with other people can be extremely helpful in allowing that safety to grow, because we are so judgmental of ourselves. But when we can actually learn these skills and practice them and check in with other people, then we can actually experience the non-judgment that we need in order to allow that safety to happen. And the third reason, and this is not to blame or shame you, okay? The third reason that insight alone doesn't typically stick is that most women stop as soon as it gets uncomfortable. It's not because you don't want it to happen, but it's because there's no one helping to interpret what's happening. Our brain is structured to avoid discomfort. And change requires discomfort. So when you're trying to change your sex life alone, we kind of have this pattern that happens. You learn something new, you give it a try, it feels awkward, it doesn't work the first time, it feels uncomfortable, and so we don't try it again. We don't keep going. And I'm not saying that women quit in this space because they don't care. The quitting, the stopping happens because women don't know what step comes next. We don't know what comes after the discomfort. And we need support in that. We need help in that. So if you're listening to this and realizing that you really don't want to keep trying to figure this out on your own, I want to invite you to join me in my 8-week coaching program called Want It and Enjoy It. This is a faithful Catholic approach to desire, pleasure, and joyful sex. This is the space that is needed to make real and lasting change in your sex life. Now, if you're listening to this episode in real time, I currently have a cohort open until January 23rd. If you are listening to this episode a couple of months after, a couple of years after, check that link in the show notes, because I open this program a couple of times a year so you can get on the wait list to join the next time that we are open. But this is a space where real change happens. It's not about knowledge. Like, you can get all of the knowledge that you need. You can get it from the podcast. You can buy a secular book, whatever. This is about the support and the space and the safety and the time that you need and your nervous system needs to make those real lasting changes, to make sex something that you actually want and that you actually enjoy. Thanks so much for listening. Want It and Enjoy It, an 8-week group coaching program for Catholic women to reignite desire, pleasure, and joyful sex, is open now through January 23rd, 2026. I want you to be here. I want you to have the transformation that you are dreaming of in your sex life. So check the link in the show notes. If you're outside of that window, click that link in the show notes and sign up for the waitlist for the next time that we are open. I hope to see you in the program.